Hello, everyone. Today we're joined by Chris Ritter, who is the author of the book Creating Winning Trial Themes. Chris has developed a powerful approach to case strategy he calls mental mining, a process that helps trial teams uncover the subconscious themes jurors use to make sense of complex facts. Leading our conversation is Adam Bloomberg, Senior Client Success Advisor here at IMS. Chris and Adam will explore how mental mining works, why it's critical to persuasive storytelling in court, and how attorneys can use it to connect with jurors on a deeper, more intuitive level. Adam, it's all yours.
Thank you. Chris, last time we spoke, you gave an overview about your methodology to case strategy.
Right.
And one of your cornerstones to this approach is something you've coined as the term mental mining.
Right.
Let's start with a definition. What is mental mining?
Well, there's a short definition and a longer definition. At the risk of sounding a little too California woo-woo here, the short definition is that it's the conscious effort going into the subconscious, which is organize the facts that the jurors are going to be hearing, and finding the organizing principles and bringing them up to the conscious level so you can use them to make arguments and to basically persuade jurors.
So how do these elements that you're mining persuade jurors in the courtroom?
Yeah, well, first of all, the term mining was specifically picked because that really is kind of the notion of going in and looking for and bringing this out. The best lawyers tend to be people who can educate. And if you're going to educate, you have to understand how people learn. And when people learn, when they're confronted with new facts, particularly complex facts for the first time, what they're doing is they're processing them in two ways. On a conscious level, they're memorizing details. They're memorizing names and dates and, basically the details you need. But on the subconscious level, what they're doing is they're organizing what they're hearing into buckets. They're organizing things into things that they're familiar with in order to judge this new material, either positively or negatively, or to even understand it. So what we're trying to do, what we're going to be doing in mental mining is basically figuring out what those buckets are. How are people organizing their thoughts subconsciously so we can bring them out and use them for argument. We can use them basically as a way for getting people to have toeholds, to begin to understand, and to use them as a way that we can help teach ultimately what it is that we need to teach. You can't learn in the abstract, right? You've got to start at a place where you know something. And going into the subconscious and bringing out these are places that give us the ability to develop those toeholds so that we can begin to educate and then convince people.
So what are some examples of toeholds?
Well, I mean, they can be almost anything. They can be analogies, they can be stories. A lot of us share a lot of the same kinds of beliefs by way of even events that we've seen, television shows that we've seen, values that we hold in common. When you go through a mental mining session, you've hit a toehold when you're talking to the lawyers and somebody throws out something, they hear them say, it reminds me of, or this is really about, and people start nodding and agreeing because they understand what it is, the broader message that's being conveyed by that little toehold or that little basic way of understanding.
So you mentioned a mental mining session.
Right.
Is that the same as mental mining?
Oh, that's a good question. I tell people that mental mining is really two things. It is a verb. It's something you do, but it's also a noun. It's a thing. So when I talk about mental mining being the verb, that's the process. It's the process that lawyers should be doing all the time about their cases. Thinking about how do I simplify it? What is this about? It's something that's going on every time you're thinking about a case. Now, my family can tell you I'm a little bit extreme. I'm constantly thinking about things. I'm thinking about something that I see as a way of explaining something else. So it's a process you should be engaged in. A mental mining session, now that's the noun, that's the thing, is something you engage in. Usually lasts somewhere between 4 to 6 hours. You get somebody who is a critical listener to come in and force you to go through that process of what's this case about, forcing you to answer what the questions are that you need to answer in order to be able to come up with the kernel, the essence of what the case is and how to explain it.
So in this scenario, who's the critical listener? Is that the client? Or?
No, the critical listener is usually somebody, and I strongly recommend, that's brought in from the outside. Look, lawyers have, and I'm not saying one position's better than the other, but if you're up getting ready for a trial, you've spent months, if not years, getting ready. You know the detail. You're in the weeds. The critical listener is somebody who, as I like to say, knows enough to be dangerous. They've been there. They know what the case is about. They can come in and they can actively question you from a higher perspective. There's this concept in Zen about the beginner's mind, that the less you know, in some ways, the more powerful you are. That's what the critical listener is. They're coming in, they're hearing stuff for the first time, and they're giving reactions. It's helpful if you get somebody from the outside, because oftentimes it requires really being critical of what's being said. Some young associate is not going to be able to do that to a partner, so getting someone to come in from the outside helps. And somebody who's had a lot of perspectives, tried a lot of cases, know what the cases are about, and know what's important.
I attended one of your firm retreats where you gave a workshop
Right.
on mental mining, and you said the concept of desired dozen. Let's explain that.
Well, it's certainly alliterative, isn't it? The desired dozen there are, I think, basically 12 questions that every juror wants to know in order to make a decision. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're very basic. What happened? Be able to explain in a concise way what happened. Why did it happen? Question of motive. What's really going on? Because there's a perception by a lot of people that there's more than meets the eye. What does these documents mean? How do I explain these things? There are 12 questions that every juror really wants answered. I use that as a touchstone to determine whether or not the mental mining session has been successful. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that we've answered all 12 of those, and we can answer all 12 of those for the jury.
All right, here's your one softball question. Yeah. The last question.
Yeah.
I assume these questions lead to better and more clear results.
Oh, yeah. No, that's right. I mean, thank you for raising that. Not only do you need to answer these, but what's pointed out when you come up with these are the kinds of tools that you need, the kinds of things that you need in order to be able to explain. They help you basically provide the tools that you need in order to get the active juror to basically be able to fight for you when they get into the courtroom.
Yeah.
Excuse me, the deliberation room.
Thank you for your time.
It's always
again.
good to see you.
Until next time.
Yes, that's right. Good to see you, Adam.
See you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you to our guests for speaking with us today. To discover how the IMS team can help give your case an edge, check out imslegal.com or shoot us an email at contactus@imslegal.com. IMS has served trusted law firms and corporations worldwide for more than 30 years and over 65,000 cases. As a strategic partner for the full case lifecycle, our integrated teams provide specialized advisory support, expert witness services, litigation consulting, visual advocacy, and presentation technology to elevate strategies and protect hard-earned reputations. Learn more at imslegal.com.